So, good morning, grade 9 student. So, my name is Arnel Samonte, your student teacher for today. So, from this recording video, I introduce your topic. So, your topic for tomorrow it's all about potential and kinetic energy. So, before proceed to the potential and kinetic energy, let's define first what is energy. So, energy is ability to do work. So, everything that happens in world uses energy. So, the most of the time we can see any energy, but it's everywhere around us. So, definition of energy. So, energy is never create or destroy. So, it can only be store or transfer. So, this example of energy. So, we have battery, car, sleeping puppies, and our food. So, in this trivia, all matter is made up of particles. So, the particle never stop moving. So how all energy is divided? So it's divided by two. It's a potential energy and kinetic energy. So potential energy means the energy destroyed in an object. So potential simply means that energy has ability to do something useful later on. So for this example of potential energy, we have stretched rubber band, water at the top of a waterfall sa taas po. So, yo-yo held in your hand, and a drone bow and arrow. So, potential energy means the higher an object, the more potential energy. So, the more mass an object has, the more potential energy it has. So, tandaan nyo to. So, again, the higher an object, the more potential energy. So, the more mass an object has, the more potential energy it has. So this example, which object has more potential energy? The bricks. Why? Because this brick has more mass than the feather. So therefore, more potential energy. So sabi natin kanina, the more mass an object has, the more potential energy it has. So in changing objects in heights naman, if I want to drop an apple from the top of these three things, where will be the most potential energy? So at the Eiffel Tower, chair, or the truck? The answer is the Eiffel Tower because the higher the object, the more potential energy. So potential energy is converted to the kinetic energy. So when store energy begins to move, the object now transfer from potential energy into kinetic energy. So kinetic energy means the energy of moving object. Kinetic means movement. So when store energy is being used up, it's a making things move or happen. So this example of kinetic energy. So we have motorcycle, running motorcycle, skating, and running. So the faster the object moves, the more kinetic energy produced. So the greater the mass and speed of an object, the more kinetic energy will be. So when this object moves at the same speed, which will have more kinetic energy? Semi-truck or a liter car? The answer is the semi-truck has more mass, so therefore it's more kinetic energy. Sabi natin kanina, di ba? The greater the mass and speed of an object, the more kinetic energy will be. So the answer is the semi-truck. So an object, the most kinetic energy when its movement is the greatest. So when object has this potential energy, it has most kinetic energy. So again, an object has most kinetic energy when its object is movement greatest. So when object has this potential energy, it has the most kinetic energy. So a water bottle is not of the test. When does the bottle have the most kinetic energy? So, sa taas ba? So, in the middle or the bottom? The answer is the bottom. So, because it has most kinetic energy when its movement is speed are greatest. So, which is that the bottom of the fall right before the hits the ground. So, when an object at least potential energy is when the most kinetic energy. So, in this example of roller coaster, so habang pataas ng pataas si roller coaster, nagkakaroon ng mataas na potential energy. So, pag nasa tuktok na siya at huminto, that is we call the potential energy na kung saan kapag nag-release na si roller coaster, dun na papasok si kinetic energy. So, this example problem, kung aabuti pa tayo sa oras bukas, is i-discuss ko na rin the formula of the potential and kinetic energy. So, from now on, notes, mag-iwan ako ng notes of energy is divided into two types, the potential and kinetic energy. So we have two types, the potential and kinetic energy. When we say potential energy, the energy stored in an object. So kinetic energy, the energy of moving object. And the last, energy is never create or destroy. It's always store or transfer. So yun lang grade 9 student. So kung bukas i-elaborate ko kung ano yung potential energy and energy. So I hope na mapanood nyo to at we are live discussing for tomorrow. So goodbye grade 9.